We're live. We're live. A BB48 Black family. Once again, welcome back to another episode of Urban Philosophy, where we always straightforward, straight up, and straight to the point, where information is used to push African people forward, to bring about the spiritual and cultural revolution internally inside African people so we can manifest that revolution in the world. So tonight, what we're going to have here tonight, we got PLM. You know, it's the PLM family. We will do a brief introduction so everyone can introduce themselves. But just know this is about political analysis and commentary. You know, we're going to talk about many different things as it pertains to Black people, our people. You know, the beloved people, Black people. You know, we in the time period now where PLM, you know, our position is that Black is divine, Black is sacred, and we're going to bring Black back to the forefront. And we stand on that. That's who we are. That's what we are. We from Africa, and we bringing that straight to the point. So as always, I'm Bobby Motep here on Urban Philosophy, and I'm gonna pass it to the brother that's next to me. In my view, would be the youngest brother on here, and that's Brother Dakari. On you, my brother. Introduce yourself, and we just keep going.
My name is Dakari Jahuti Fatihu.
Okay. We on YouTube, the good couple.
Go ahead, my dear.
Peace and power, family. I am Mama Gina Fatiyu.
And I'm Minister Tamim Ikwe Fatiyu.
Good. Down on the bottom row.
Hotel Black family. My name is Shegu Fatiyu.
Hotep family, Viva Fortier. My name is Juwanza Fatiyu.
Oh, good. So I'm glad everyone was able to, you know, introduce yourselves. And I think I speak for all of us when I say that this is a very important moment right here for us to be on a platform together to just be able to discuss information as it pertains to our people. So we don't have any specific topic. You know, we're not coming with no particular topic. Nothing is scripted. We're gonna come straight out the top of our dome from our heart. And so tonight you're gonna get an exclusive opportunity to witness the wisdom and the knowledge and the commitment and the sincerity of PLM. So the first thing I would like to put on the floor for us to just look at a little bit and throw it around is this thing that's been on Facebook, on social media, the gender wars. You know, Black man hate the Black woman hate the Black man. You know, so my question is to us, looking at that from our perspective, are we really at war with one another? Is the Black man and the Black woman at war with one another? The question is on the floor. You know, just, you know, let me know what you think. What's your thoughts are?
Hotep. This is Brother Shegu. I don't believe that from the position which I stand and what I see that the Black man and Black woman is at war with each other. I think what creates this discrepancy and this unknowing is our lack of knowledge of each other and how the Black man and Black woman is supposed to complement each other because of we're not truly into ourselves of knowing.
It's like he froze up.
And is against the Black woman or the Black woman against the Black man. So we need to also know what it, figure out where this information coming from and why this information is being intentionally disseminated to create confusion amongst the Black family.
I like that. You said intentionally disseminated. I like that. Anyone else wants to add on?
My dear, are we at war with one another?
We are not at war.
Okay.
We a team. So when it comes to when we think about Black socialization, which is what we are taught, you know, when we think about this race first movement, we think about the family dynamic. We think about the centering of what it means to work towards Black power, African power. It's going to be the unit of the man and the woman. And there is a war being warred upon us, I would say, from propaganda to the gamut of this oppressive society. But we as Black people, compliments, we are not at war with each other.
One of the things that I would say is that we have to be careful, because a lot of times, especially in this society, anytime you have some type of conflict or misunderstanding, it can be perceived as being at war. And this society is largely based on a warring society. Just to give an example, so everybody's familiar. You have the war on drugs, the war on terrorism. You got different interest groups, political groups. You know, you got a war on in Capitol Hill, for example. What we have that needs to be corrected is a misunderstanding. In our growing up and in our processes, as men, we are not fully to understand and relate with our women. And similar, our women are not thoroughly engaged in a process to understand our men. So what we have is a misunderstanding of one another that needs to be corrected. And we have many ways of going about aiding us in our ability to understand one another. So we really got to be able to be in a process that we learn, for men, what it means to be a man, for a woman, what it means to be a woman. And then once we have those understandings, and simultaneously as well, then we can better understand how do we relate with and for one another.
Yeah, sure.
I'll leave for any of my other brothers and sisters that want to hop in.
So let me bring Brother Disa and Sister Tiambi up to speed. So what we're talking about right now, I know y'all came in a little late. I actually didn't see y'all because y'all was underneath everyone else. So I apologize for getting y'all on a tad bit late. But you here nonetheless. So what we right now, the discussion is, is the Black man and the Black woman really at war with one another? You know, we hear people saying that a lot. The gender wars, right? So I want to know what PLM think. Do we think PLM as an organization is the Black man and the Black woman at war? So that's what we're discussing at this moment.
Hotep Baba. Yeah, I heard everything because I could see y'all, but I was kind of like in the shadows.
Okay.
So I think that because we are in a state of war, and when we don't realize we're at war, it's easy for us to look at each other as the enemy. It's easy for us to be short with us. It's easy for us to blame each other for the attacks that we don't see that are coming on us. When we go out into society and we go out here into this workforce and this plantation and we give ourselves 100% to it and then come home and have nothing left to give to our family, we can be, emotionally distant and things like that. Speaking of children. So I believe that when we do this work, we tend to work towards each other in a way that produces the harmony and the balance that is needed so that we can grow as African-centered couples. We need more power couples. Black men and women, we love each other, but knowing how to love each other in war, that's a whole nother discussion, But that deals with us being able to have an African-centered lens to recognize the things that our enemy does to put us at wage with each other. I think that we don't realistically plan for the things that we do. I was grateful to be able to come into the culture and, meet my wife, and for us to go through a process of getting to know each other and also being a part of the same community and same organization is a plus. But we plan for our child. You know, we went through everything that was culturally prescribed to make sure that this union, as well as, you know, bringing him into, you know, this realm, will be harmonious and balanced. I think that some of us were born not planned for, and our parents just dealt with us, and the relationship, I mean, just held on because of the child, you know, instead of recognizing what, you know, the purpose of what we're supposed to be doing as a people. But when you're disconnected from your own cultural identity, it's easy for us to fall into the gaps and fall into the gray and not choose a side that coincides with creating the complementary relationships that we need. Like right now, you know, we have, you know, strong couples on here. We have strong people, you know, and we are able to pull on each other in the need of aid. Like even you, Bob and Motep, you know, it's times when I'm struggling, you know, and I need assistance. I come to you for your counsel, you know, but before I came across his worldview, who did I go to? Most of us don't go to anybody. We just shut down, or we find a space to complain but don't do the work. But when you have a community that is doing the work, that is producing the work, you know, you have things to look towards that are relevant and real. You know, most people tell you you need to do this and do that, but they ain't living by it themselves. So I think that as long as we focus on what is relevantly going on around us and we work towards each other, we can overcome anything. And I'll leave it there. See if my wife wants to say anything, Bob.
Oh, do I get some? No, I mean, I echo his sentiments. And I think that when we think about the war that's being waged between the black men and the black women, we have to understand that that's by design, right? And so whenever we see these types of things, especially being shown so prevalently, we have to understand who is that really benefiting. And so have that to have that image of the man and woman waging war upon each other, that doesn't benefit, you know, African people. Of course, it benefits the enemy. And you know, that's all I have to add to that part. I think that my comrades and my compliment really did that well.
Yes. I think I would add to what all of you have laid out is one of the things that what's crucial to urban philosophy is cultivating the capacity to reclaim and restore our way, and whenever necessary, to reconceptualize what is necessary. The enemy have placed themselves in the position that they are in because the enemy defines the rules. And as long as we are attempting to do what we are trying to do as a people, and we're using their rules, we find ourselves in this conundrum. Like where we are, it's a conundrum we find ourselves in. So what I add is this: never subscribe to their narratives. Dr. Wade Noble's talked about this thing, right? He talked about this grand narrative, right? This grand narrative. And Dr. Asa Hill, you talked about how, you know, this socialization process got to be transgenerational, right? So when we look at the transgenerational piece in the grand narrative, the Europeans have made themselves the script writers of the narrative. And what we in turn do, right, we try to have discussions using the concepts that they've conjured up. Like their concepts have been conjured up to create the confusion. So we can never even submit and say, you know, that there's a gender war or whatever. The terms, we got to totally trash the terms, right? Totally trash what they're saying and always present and demonstrate that which exists for us that's to the contrary, right? So we don't have to talk about whether or not it's a gender war or not. All we got to do is demonstrate how black men and black women that we know that's operating and working together, right? We have to take the validity from the terms that they use. Like we give their terms power when we're utilizing their terms and trying to defend and argue within the framework of their terms. Trash the term and speak our truth, right? Speak our truth, right? And speaking your truth, you have to pull from our historical references and resources. We have to pull from that. So we're going to talk about black men and black women. We got to pull from the references and the resources that's there that show us who we are, right? That provides us with the examples. So we are what? We are loving one another. We are building families, right? So any person who don't see that or understand that is a person that have been systematically removed from our story. So our task is to help them understand our story. Because anytime we have a poor perception of who we are, it's because we don't know who we are. Anytime the perception about us is poor, if it's wrong, if it's slanted, it's because we don't know who we are. Our task in that moment is to help us understand who we are. So we say urban philosophy say the purpose of urban philosophy is to add a new dynamic to African thought and reasoning. It's a new dynamic to that thought and reasoning process. That's what we have to demonstrate. So to do that, our analysis has to start from our center. You cannot construct an analysis starting from them because they are a flaw. See, their existence is a flaw. So if the analysis starts with them, the conclusion will be flawed. If the premise is flawed, the conclusion is going to be flawed. Our analysis got to start with ourselves. So, what do you think? What are your thoughts to that?
Can I get in, Bob?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so just to tie into that, to also build off of what Baba Tamim was saying earlier, it's like there's been a fracture in our development because we can't, anything that happens to us inside of an oppressive situation, whether you find us in America, whether you find us in some oppressive country in Europe, wherever you find Black people experiencing racism, we have to understand that we weren't given a certain thing that was naturally going to be there. So when we was in Africa, we was getting certain developments, the same way the sun rises. You could count on it, the same way the rain comes. However, in a foreign environment, it's like a drought. So instead of the earth getting the rain, we was getting dehydrated. We was getting malnourished. So in that same way, growing up here in America, we got certain lacks in our development. So in order to understand yourself properly, we got to ask ourselves, what does it mean to be Black? So in today's times, 2023, we got to look at that because, somebody could say, what it mean to be Black? I come from a great people. I got nappy hair, and I'm just connected to other people that look like me. But to be Black goes way deeper than that. And so in order for us to go find ourselves in this journey, we have to be really knowledge seekers. And we cannot be just satisfied with getting money and surviving and finding pleasure to cope with everything that's hard going on the outside. Because those are the things that distract us from saying, who really am I? Because in this society, we feel like as long as we can put food on the table, as long as we can go travel and have excitement, we feel like we're good. However, that's the trick bag. Because one of the things that Baba George Jackson talked about in his book, Blood in My Eye, he said that, the oppressors have created a situation where as long as bread and circuses appease, no one is going to challenge the system. And so I'm paraphrasing him, but he said, as long as bread and circuses appease, nobody's going to challenge the system. And so what he's saying is, as long as you can put food in your mouth, and as long as you can have a good time, nobody's going to question whether or not they're living the truth. And so in order for us to go deeper into our mind, we have to be able to see a falsehood in society. We have to be able to see something not lining up. And so we always see these different signs happening, just like the movie Get Out, the camera flash, and all of a sudden you'll go back to just doing whatever you was doing. However, for that moment, you saw a glimpse of the truth. And so when we get exposed to a certain reality, we got to go all the way into that truth. We can't just be like, oh, I'm going to fade back into the distance. Everything is calm now. I can chill. Oh, it's good. The fire is gone. Nah, it's a type of fire that's been burning extremely slow. And so at the end of the day, when it comes to really getting back to where we was at before and taking that even further, we got to really ask ourselves, what does it mean to be black? And we have to connect that with Africa. We have to. I know we get into all these debates about, oh, we was the first people over here in America. Oh, I'm this religion, I'm that religion. Okay, you want to claim that, but what's going to unite all of us? I'm not telling you to drop where you at, but what's going to unite all of us? At the end of the day, above all our specific purposes, we got to be able to understand that there's a culture that we all descend from, and there's a specific way of being that we have offered the world. And if we don't have that, we have to understand that we have to get back to that. Because naturally in our culture, we was taught how to be men. Naturally in our culture, we was taught how to be women. We was prepared to be husband and wives. This was the education process. Education for us was about transmitting the culture to the next generation. I believe somebody spoke about, passing the baton and stuff like that earlier, something similar to that. But it's like, in order for us to get these things, we have to understand that we have to practice the culture, because within the culture, you get, okay, this is what it means to be a man. This is what it means to be a woman. This is what it means to be a husband, rather than going to a public school system and they teach you 1 + 1 = 2. Now you better memorize that so you can pass the test. That's two different things. And if all we is banking on is going to the next grade and then graduating to get a good job, that's going to fail us. That's how you're going to get several people that's breaking up and separating. Because we have this issue where a lot of people, they get with the person that they had their first child with, they don't stay with that person. But that's because that we're not practicing our own culture. And so when you hear us say, we got to be African, and we're talking about practicing our traditional way, we're talking about a way of life, a way of interacting with the universe, a way of interacting with each other, a way of thinking and speaking to one another. Because a lot of times we think that culture is just music, dance, and clothes, but we got to understand that culture is the fundamental thought process, the fundamental way that we speak and the way to behave with one another. And so just to add to what you were saying, Baba, it's just about, becoming more clear what it means to be who we are. We're talking about returning back to our traditional way as Black people and really understanding what that means to be Black and why that's unique and why that needs to be held out in the front. Because we can't just get caught up into this big old ocean of multiculturalism, because it really doesn't exist. It's a smokescreen. But we have to be able to say, this is who I am, and this is who we got to be together.
I want to add to that. Oh, go ahead, Bob.
No, you got it.
I was going to add to that. My brother Dakara, you on fire tonight, and I agree with you. I also think the foundation of that is the raising of Black consciousness. You see, we have to understand that Black consciousness is not just an awareness. We got this stay woke movement, going on. Okay, let's use that to our advantage when we talk about what it means to stay woke or be woke. It is a raising of Black consciousness. It is your entire experience of being Black. It's being able to embrace African culture, African history, but also understanding your experience here on this land. And when we do that, we are able to push and do every single thing that is counter to the false narratives of oppression, racism, stereotypes that's been pushed against us. We are able to not move from a reactionary perspective, but we are able to move from a very progressive perspective. We are able to move in our power because we understand the totality of our experience here. So we have to look at it in that way when we're raising our consciousness, our thoughts, our behavior. So that's the foundation of what you're sharing, because I hear Black socialization at the root of it. How we educate ourselves, how we commune with each other, how we move. And it really takes us as a people to understand we got to raise our consciousness, and it's beyond being woke. It's beyond that awareness. Yes, we want you to be woke. We want you to awaken, as Mama Ife will say, awaken the spirit, awaken that aspect of you that's ready to do the work when duty calls.
I also wanted to hop in real quick, because for those who have been a part, well, I guess we just have some of our brothers and sisters here, part of the study class. I recently hopped back into the Akbar Papers in African Psychology. Mm-hmm. And I think that it was paramount what Baba mentioned when he brought in the aspect of Wade Nobles and as my brother and wife are here talking about the aspect of consciousness. But when you mentioned woke, as you mentioned, like it's a grounding stage. So it's a level that is geared to prepare you for another level.
To evolve.
And what happens is, real quick, it mentions here on conceptions of self. It says Black psychology describes the area of study as being the collective experience of oppression. What must be studied to understand the human experience is the shared experience of oppression or the shared phenomenon of being an oppressor. The degree to which one is conscious of shared oppression is assumed to be a measure of Black awareness or Black personality. So that's like a grounding stage, stage one, if you will. As they go throughout this book, they do create that demarcation, if you will, or they emphasize what is a fundamental level and then what is considered as another level, an African-centered level. So when we're talking about conceptions of self, that wokeness being a stage one, what we're striving towards is the understanding that as we are looking at ourselves and describing ourselves, the us has a collective identity.
Absolutely.
The us or the self is collective. The us is the I am because we are. The self is the us, which is it takes a village to raise a child. The self or the us is that aspect of us which recognizes that what happens to one of us happens to all of us. We have to have a shared understanding, a shared energy towards a particular event or phenomena. It has to be collective. Our survival has to be collective. So if one of us suffers, we all suffer. And it's a matter of striving towards that mentality. And that's what's going to be able to take us from, let's say, where we are at today versus where we need to be 3 years, 5 years, 10 years from now, if we want to thrive in this world, not just America, but in this world.
Absolutely. And I'll add just a little bit because you're on fire. Our Black identity informs our worldview. So when we think of it in that way, everything that we do informs how we're moving based on that foundational Black consciousness connected to our Black identity. Our Black identity informs how we shape our world and our worldview. So I just wanted to add that.
I'm trying to get in when you get a chance, Baba.
Let's go. Y'all got the floor.
Yeah, cause I just my comrades are kind of like energizing the juices, right? And because what I wanted to talk about, Minister Tomine hit on it, Mama Gina hit on it. Dealing with relationships. Like when we look at, relationships are sacred when it comes to African tradition and African practice. But building African-centered relationships are key, right? And the only way to build the needed solidarity for us to grow, like we have to have a prescribed understanding that we're functioning from. I know that you talked about like the conscious wave that's going on, but there's a lot of people out there that is manipulating the wave. A lot of people that are misrepresenting the wave. They're not living authentically in how they're supposed to be. They look at it as a trend or romanticize the struggle or romanticize what it is to be revolutionary, right? But they aren't doing the work to build the stability for people to be able to grow from, right? So when you look at the stability of a healthy man and a healthy woman, a healthy African-centered man and a healthy African-centered woman, and they create a healthy family and they build a healthy family and they're linked to other healthy families that are also rooted in the same way of life, then you're able to produce, and build the community, the village that will be able to aid in the development of the child that's growing up, going from one family to another, being able to see the same teachings and being reinforced with the same practices and things that's going on in their household to create the shared vision that brings about the social reality that we're working towards, right? But it always goes back to the person, you know? So we have to make, you know, African-centeredness attractive. We have to make it something, I mean, that people desire because they take ownership with it when they see it, you know, and it's not something, I mean, that it just sounds slick or it sounds cool when someone says it, I mean, on their social outlet, right? And the real work has to be done, you know, and we have to be careful of the political landmines that are out there that are trying to trigger us, I mean, to be looked at as hypocrites and things like that, you know. But when we don't have a community that aids us in that, you know, as an African-centered man, before I make decisions that affect my family and my community, I mean, I seek guidance and counsel from my elders, right? But before I was on this path, I didn't think about doing that because the Western world review prescribes you just to be an individual, you know, to move alone, right? And what is killing us as a people is the separation in our relationships. We need to have a better relationship when it comes to our culture, our indigenous culture. We need to have a better relationship when it comes to our history. How do we know more about American history, but we know less about African history or African American history, if you want to use that? When we understand who we are and where we truly come from, not by the lens of our enemy, but by the lens of our indigenous ancestors, we take a sense of pride that can't be tarnished, that can't be stepped on, that can't be disrespected. We take an ownership in that position because we understand that this reflects our identity and who we are. And in us understanding and identifying with that, it develops and deepens our self-value and self-worth. And when a black man values himself, when a black woman values their self, they automatically value that which looks like them. And that makes the work so easy in us interacting and building with each other because we understand we are part of the same struggle. The problem is our enemy has us viewing us as the problem. And those are the smoke screens that we got to look out for that Baba Dakari was talking about. I'll leave with that. Thank you.
Man, well, I don't have too much to say behind that. For our listeners of you out there, you still here with us, and if you're listening in, you know, just throw a black hand up. Let us know if you know if this discussion is going in the right direction. Let us know if this discussion is resonating with your soul. Put your black fists up. Send us a BB for Hodier, a whole tip. Send us something, anything to positive, so we can know that you are there with us and we are moving in that direction. Because we want to make sure that we are ripping the shreds, the false narrative about the black man and the black woman being at war is bogus. And the reason it can exist only because of ignorance. And by ignorance, I'm saying that we don't have a working and an operational knowledge of who we are. And when you lack a working, functional, operational knowledge of yourself, you look at the world through confusion. And if you look at the world through confusion, you see confused things. So you'll take an individual situation that may have occurred with you, and you'll magnify it, and you'll say that that individual situation is now a collective situation, when in reality it's not a collective situation. And then you seek to indict, you know, an entire people in terms of you indict all black men or you indict all black women, and you start running around saying that, you know, the black woman and the black man are at war. We're not at war with one another. We're not at war with one another. You see me and my wife sitting side by side. You see Baba Disa and his wife sitting side by side. You see Mama Gina and her husband sitting side by side. Like the black man and the black woman historically have always stood in unison. That's who we are. That's what we come from. This is the narrative. This is what we must project to the world. We must accept whatever our personal setbacks may be in our attempt to be in relationship with one another. We have to deal with that on an individual basis and not say because I'm unable to be in relationship, because things didn't work out with me, then that's an indication that, oh, all men are no good, all black men are no good, or all black women are no good. You know, we have to kill the narrative that we are disseminating. We are using their words. We are using their narrative about ourselves, and it's creating more harm than good. More harm than good. So this is the question that I want to put to the floor. It's clear that we don't agree nor subscribe to the black man and the black woman being at war. But each of you in some capacity has spoken to why you think or believe that some may think it does exist. So my question is this: what must be done to help those who think the black man and the black woman are at war to come into a knowledge, to realize that the black man and the black woman are not at war? What must be done? Or what can be done? Or what would you suggest be done? What do you think these individuals need to be subjected to? How do you think we can address it? Any one of you?
Yeah. Can you hear me, Bob?
I can hear you, yes.
So yeah, like what I would say, it's kind of we kind of touched on it a little bit when we started talking about finding out what it means to be black, because that's a part of it. So, you know, I believe it was Baba Tamim was speaking about traditionally the self is viewed as being collective. You know, you have yourself, the soul, you have our ancestors that are a part of us as well, and then we have the community or the family. You know, these things are all united as one. And so when you learn about that understanding of yourself, you can engage with yourself better. You can hold yourself to a higher standard, and certain behaviors that are destructive within relationships, you won't have to do away with. You know, me growing up, I'm 30 years old. There's a lot of things I've been having to overcome because of the mentality I've been taking on for the last 6 years. You know, I stopped cussing. I stopped smoking weed. I stopped drinking liquor. You know, I stopped going to certain places. I don't go to the strip club no more. You know, my friends, they knew how it used to be when I was in high school. You know, go to the strip club all night, wait, get 30 minutes of sleep, then go to work the next day. You know, but when you start behaving a different way, you shift. And a lot of people that used to know the old me, they haven't understood it all the way because it's a transformation that has to take place. You know, when we talk about being revolutionary, we're talking about that revolution starting inside of you first. And so that transformation is being able to go to a higher state, and you're doing away with everything that was holding you back. And so it's a complete restructuring of the person. And so when we step into learning more about being black, it's going to do these things for you. It's going to do these things for you. And so when you meet that person that's supposed to be for you, you can engage them in a more healthy way. You know, and the important part about it as well is a certain discipline, because we can't just go into it lusting, because that's something that's been happening a lot. You know, it's easy to get caught up into, oh man, this person's looking really good. You know, I want to sleep in the bed with you. I want to get real close with you so fast. And it's like, what about the bond? Like, are you even that person going in the same direction? And so for me, these are things that I've been learning. It's just, you know, being in the culture, understanding, you know, we have to have healthy bonds. You know, Baba Disa spoke about being able to have two people that's going in the same direction. Because at the end of the day, if we don't want the same thing from life, eventually that's going to become a problem. And all of a sudden, it may seem like a surprise, but it shouldn't have been, because that should have been something that we talked about. You know, where are we going to live? How do we want to raise our children? You know, who are our children going to be around? These are all things that create problems inside families. How do we want to make money? How important is money to you? If you feel like, if I get laid off and I'm struggling to pay bills, but you see me working hard, are you going to kick me when I'm down? These are all things that kill relationships. So at the end of the day, in order to get past that, it's like a restructuring in our mind and also a different way of operating. So when we speak about the culture, we have to associate with the way that we operate. And so, you know, I just wanted to put that there. But, you know, in short, the solution is to produce more healthy black relationships. The way to dispel that misunderstanding, produce more healthy black relationships.
I want
Shay.
to.
Oh, go ahead, Mama.
May I?
Go ahead. Go
So
ahead. Take it. Sis.
you know, you said that extremely eloquently. And I would just want to add that in addition to doing that self work and in addition to building those individual complementary relationships, there's a need for immersion with other complementary relationships. Because a lot of times when you're in a complementary relationship, a healthy one, and you're allowing a lot of that external stuff into your space and into your atmosphere, it can seem like there is that war, right? That's what it can seem like. And now the thing about it is that when you surround yourself with people who you're seeing the Baba Imhotep and Mama Ife's, the Baba Tamins and Mama Gina's, like when you're seeing those things, you're able to really have that reality right in front of your face. But if all you're doing is looking up all the drama on social media, this person's breaking up with that person, this person got another baby mom, like all this stuff, you're immersing yourself in the wrong things. So when I look and I see certain things in some comments online or hear certain narratives being repeated, our black men don't protect the, can't relate, can't relate. Black households aren't healthy, can't relate. Mine is who you around, right? Because when we allow ourselves to really unlearn the my relationship is only myself and my man is just us against the world. Nobody else needs to have a hand in it. Absolutely not. We need our elders, we need our brothers, we need our mamas, we need our babas, we need our sisters, we need everybody to have a hand in this. And so if we're going to do this, we have to do it right. We have to do it in our way. We have to do it with Njia too. And if we're going to really do this, we have to make sure that those same people that we're walking, hugging and peace and blessings and all this and that, when we're out at events, we have to allow those trusted and qualified individuals to be in our space to help us navigate this and not just place our relationship and our marriage in a silo. And so I think that when we think about building that, that's something that's essential. So there's that self, right? There's that unit as a complementary unit. And then there's that collection of relationships that are working in tandem with each other to really help sustain, right? When me and my complement are getting into it, sometimes I might have to reach out to my sister. Sometimes I need to reach out to my brother. Sometimes I need him to reach out to my sister or my sister to reach out to him. And I'm okay with that because that's what's needed. Because if we're really going to help to rear each other, they say it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a village to raise a couple, right? It takes a village to raise a unit. And so, we need all hands on deck because we have to make sure that we setting ourselves up for our children to see something healthy and desire that and to say, I aspire to be a wife, to be a husband, because I see it in my own parents. I see it in this mama and baba. I see it in that mama and baba. So everyone walking around us is incubated in that sense of healthy complementary relationship.
Couple 1 minute. Whatever isn't relevant isn't reality. And things only become reality when people see it on a consistent basis.
Mm.
So when they see consistent, healthy relationships on a consistent basis, it becomes reality and it becomes relevant and it becomes what people will fight for. But when we accept the narrative that men are this and women are this, and we see nothing but images and projections of that, right? What we do is we settle for bad as we run from the worst because there's no good and great being produced. So we have to produce that, right? If it's only Mama Ife and Baba Imhotep as a power couple, right? Then they become like a unicorn. They become, something, that's an anomaly. It just, they're a blue moon. That's what they are. But when you see other couples, that are moving in sync with it and creating that same narrative and that same energy and that same power, right? And you see those couples in gathering with each other, building with each other, loving each other, supporting each other, and growing together, right? It creates an urge of reality. It's being manifest into reality that this is possible. No more are we going to accept you know, the bare minimum, because there are examples out here saying that it's real. So we have to make power couples, black power couples, black African Senate unions, right? We have to make it relevant. But the only way to make it relevant, right, we have to make it a consistent example of sight in the reality of the people that see us. I'll leave with that.
Hey man, tag me in. Tag me in. But man, so I'm gonna pick up because I
want to put So let me put it back up there. So no, that's the bottom part of it. Okay. So this is the beginning of it. I'm gonna put them all up.
Yeah.
You read it, and then I want us to address it.
Okay. You want us to read it? Or you just want to put it up?
No, so I want y'all to read. You don't gotta read it out loud, but let me know when you finish it so I can put the next one to come behind it.
Okay. I read it. I saw that she was putting it up there, so we can address it. Hotep Shah.
Okay. All right.
But wait, did everybody get a chance to read it? Everybody ready?
I see some head nods. Hey, look at that.
I read it.
I think it was like 2 parts to that first question.
Yeah. So
the first question.
I'm gonna start going in, and everybody can peep the comments and get caught up if you haven't. So all of the examples, the lessons that were taught were great. Shah, I'm gonna give you an example of something that y'all have already done. So when was it Oyana's party? I think it was Oyana's party, and we went over there, and we had a number of children that was over there. Mm-hmm. So y'all had when y'all had that celebration, in your midst, y'all had couples that were there with their children. That is an example of showing, even though it wasn't promoted in that capacity, the fact that it existed there, it shows that, hey, within our space, we have families. Now, again, we're not saying that we know the conditions of all the families and you know,
not romanticized.
We're not. No, I'm just not saying we're not getting into that aspect here. What I am saying though is that, as our minister Adisa mentioned, it's the ability to showcase what we have. And PLM, when we had the liberated zone, for example, one of the things that we would do is on Saturdays we would get out there and do the block cleanups. So the block cleanups was a way for our neighbors to see us in action and for us to interact with our neighbors. And in many cases, the relationships that we have with one another, folks that were out there cleaning the block, brothers, sisters, we had sisters with the children on their back, brothers with the children on their back. And as we were doing this on a weekly basis or a bi-weekly basis, however frequent that it was for that particular year, those neighbors got a chance to see us in action. And that became a motivating factor because many of us who were on that block got a chance to interact with many of those neighbors. We got a chance to understand a little bit more about, you know, who they were, how they were living, their perspectives. We had people just stopping to help us to do this block cleanup. So that's just merely one example of what can be done. And I think that as we are looking for like how we can promote it, put it up there in people's faces. Y'all do Facebook posts and y'all post the aspect of your love and your romance and the fact that you are building an African-centered union. And I'm sure you see the number of likes, the number of comments that you get. Now we should be in a position, and again, as the minister already said, if it's just one couple out there, you looking like a unicorn. So it's paramount that you build that community, because within your community, you will have multiple couples. And within having multiple couples, we should be in a position to strongly promote what it is that we're all about. And we should not have to hide it. We shouldn't have to subvert it in any type of capacity. In the same way that any other interest group can put out what their agenda is, when they can, you see them walking in the neighborhood. That's the kind of presence we should have. So in my particular neighborhood, in my area, I like to go out on walks, and that's almost every day, every other day, and getting out and walking in the neighborhood with Gina, with the children. My neighbors get a chance to see, hey, we're a couple, we're a unit. So they ask me how the children are, all this other stuff. We engage in conversation, and it's been a rewarding process. But we have to be able to showcase what we are. And indeed, in fact, we do need more couples days, couples at the park. Because PLM, we had a couples at the park. So anybody that was there, go ahead, comment on that one. Because when we set up at the park and had our nice display and all this other kind of stuff, we had people coming up like, well, what is this? What do y'all do? That's the start of it. That's watering the seed. That's allowing that seed to germinate and for it to grow roots into the minds and the hearts and the spirit of our people. That's what we got to do. Unfortunately, in many capacities, we're still in a basic stage of trying to get this stuff off the ground. What helps us is locking into a community. It gotta be. It has to be. Hotep.
Hold on.
Go ahead.
Tag me in. Okay. So when you talk about locking yourself into a community, and this is one of the things that I would say, I'm going to speak to the women. Before we can get to this healthy African-centered relationship, you got to have a healthy relationship with yourself. Urban philosophy teaches us that we got to prioritize our life. When you prioritize your life, you begin to see like, oh, this is what I need to do. I got to read more. I got to eat healthier. I have to be in a position where my life is prioritized. Not only that, you have to be intentional about building and growing yourself, knowing your strengths, knowing your challenges. Because before you can enter into this healthy African relationship that you are working or striving towards, you got to understand, who am I? Am I a person that is inconsistent, unreliable? Do I have to work on those skills? Do I have a sisterhood? Do I have a brotherhood? Do I have a sound spiritual routine? Do I have a connection with my ancestors? You see, a lot of that self-actualization work, self-realization work has to start with self-reflection. It has to start with communion with the supreme divinities. What is your spiritual routine? It has to start in the home. It has to start with self. And when you begin to come whole into these relationships, two whole people bring about continued wholeness and growing. So that's what I would yield to it.
Wait, take me back in.
Hey.
So you asked a good question. You said, but how can it be consistent when so many people are not in these healthy African-centered relationships?
Hold on, Tommy.
Okay.
Mama Ife was trying to get in.
All right.
Yeah, they just tag her back and forth.
Tag her in. You got to tag her in, Mama Gina.
Hey.
That hit me in my head.
Okay.
I just want to add real quick, because I know a lot of people answer your questions, so you probably have your answer. But Tameen pretty much touched on one of the things I was going to suggest, which is what I'm going to say and what I personally do. I utilize the same mediums that they utilize to help to deter us from having healthy relationships, to teach us to be toxic and unhealthy, from the social media to YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and then also from TV and which we're listening to. It's like we got to utilize whatever's in our means, whatever's in our control to promote healthy African-centered relationships, from writing books to posting on social media. I make it a habit of posting my husband and I make it a habit of affirming him on social media. I'm definitely a teacher as well as a student of affirming those I love. and which starts with myself, you know, my husband and my children, my watoto. So this is something I do on a daily basis just to keep us all strong, feeling good, and just everybody just keep in the forefront the greatness that we love about each other. Because you're going to have your disagreements with your mate throughout the day, throughout the week. You know, those times going to come. But I make sure I also affirm him on social media. So it's not just for him to read and see, because he hears it. He hears it verbally from me. He gets it personally from me via text. But it's for the world to see how a Black woman, an African-centered Black woman, would talk to an African-centered Black man. So that's the intent. So the more we do things such as that, the more people are going to appreciate that. More people is going to see that. The more people is going to desire that, rather than teaching them the opposite. So I'm one of those people that I have my moments where I can't stand social media, and then I have my moments where I love social media. It has its pros and cons, just like anything else. So one of the things I love about social media is we can utilize it to work in our favor, and that's one of the ways that you can do that. You said, but how can Baba moved the question, but it was something to the nature, how can you be consistent when
so many people aren't in those kind of relationships?
So you being consistent is teaching other people to be in those kind of relationships. Your consistency is proving to them that it can work. Baba and I being together for almost 19 years is proven to so many people, whether they tell us personally or not. Oh, a healthy African-centered relationship can happen. Not only can it happen, it can last. It can work. Love is shown. I show people not only are we in a long-term healthy relationship, but Baba still takes me on dates. He better. No, but Baba still takes me on dates. We go on dates, and we also make sure we have family time. So like Minister Tameen was saying, how they go on walks around the neighborhood. You know, Baba and I, we make sure not only do we go on dates to nurture our relationship without our children, we also make sure we set aside time for the family. And we do that in-house and outside the house. We go to restaurants on a regular, where people probably think we own it because we there so much, you know, but we go to restaurants on a regular. We go to the park on a regular. So they see us as a family unit. They see us being loving towards each other, being honest and gentle towards each other. Baba holding the door, or one of my sons holding the door. Just they see us perpetuating that culture and not just speaking it and teaching it via social media and books. We are practicing it. So that's important.
If I may, real quick. So PLM has a handbook that we follow. And in our particular handbook, we have a set of duties that we have to execute. And one of those duties is to engage African people. And we spoke on it, but I want to really frame it, answer your question within the framework of engaging African people. Because whether I'm walking in the neighborhood and I'm just talking with, you know, a family that just moved in, or whether I'm talking to one of the mamas down the street whose daughter was kind of sneaking around dating some dude, and now I'm helping to make sure I keep eyes and make sure she's good and the household is good. It's about engaging our people. And just like, because my focus is largely in the field of health. So when you engage somebody, oftentimes if there's an ill, they're almost willing to kind of share where there's a will at. When you engage them, and you can tell that the engagement is sincere. It's not like a, oh, hey, how you doing? You know, keep moving kind of thing. But you just asking, just, you know, how you doing? How you spirit? Oh, I saw something was going on. What's going on? Mm-hmm. And then you will be surprised, and you probably will not be surprised, Shy specifically, because that's our way. You know, but as when you engage our people, you're going to get some of the, you're going to get what the need is. And then all that you have to do, because I know that you are a service-oriented sister, is you find out, how can I service the need? Or who do I know that can service the need? And you plug people in. So that's a part of another aspect of one of our duties, building strong networks. Right. We build networks. I'll leave it at that.
Okay, so pretty hot topic, relevant topic, timely topic, but I don't want to keep anybody too long. So we're about to bring it to the end. You know, we've been here for 1 hour, but I think it's something that I will add this right here as we close out. It's a lot that we can talk about when it comes to this topic. And I think it's a topic that we can't cover in 1 hour. We can get it started in 1 hour, but I think this topic has to carry on. So what we're going to do, PLM, we're going to continue this dialogue. So you can expect to see us coming back real soon. Just, make sure you subscribe to this channel, subscribe to it, like the video, share the video, stay tuned, because you're going to get some more of this PLM knowledge, PLM wisdom, and keep in mind that we coming from experience. Our experience are what we do based on what we know our ancestors did. What we do based on what we know our ancestors did is how we derive the knowledge and the wisdom that we are able to dispense, because that's what it's all about. So Black women and Black men, most definitely, you are meant to be together. And we're going to talk more about how that should look, how it can look, how you can get there, and what's needed. But I'll say this right here. Keep this in mind, though. A relationship is not the place you go to look for happiness. So a lot of times we say, well, I'm looking for somebody to make me happy. I'm looking for somebody, to love me. You got to think in terms of, you need to craft in your mind a reason to be in a relationship for what you're going to bring into the relationship. See, oftentimes we want to talk about what we want to get from it. And that's why we are failing in a very colossal way. I want somebody to make me happy. No, you should enter the relationship already happy. And this person only can help to enhance you. But if that person's not there, you still are able to persist in your happiness because you became a happy person. So to be in union with your complement requires of you to have already begun the work on yourself, so you are in a position, capacity-wise, to be in a relationship. You have to be socially there, psychologically there, spiritually there. It's a lot of stuff that have to take place on the inside of you that allows you to be able to operate within a relationship. And you can minimize pulling bad people in your world if you get your insides together. When your insides aren't together, yeah, you're going to keep on pulling junk into your world because you're carrying junk around inside of you. When you start getting the junk out of you, junk don't want to be in your world. I'm going to quote Denzel Washington, then I'm going to close out. Denzel Washington said that, I'm going to paraphrase him. He made a statement in terms of how some people's spirit only can serve to irritate the demons in other people. Simple as that. So what I'm saying is that when you got messed up people and you trying to build in a relationship, and this person, and you walking away saying this person was toxic, this person was this and this and this and this and this, it ain't just all on that person, because something in you poured that junk into your world. And that's what you have to go inside yourself and find. You got to go in there and find that blight that's lying dormant inside of you that attracted that walking blight into your world. So we're going to keep this conversation going. You
done stirred up the pot now.
Stirred up the pot, Bobby.
Now we got to go another hour to answer that one.
Bibi Fourier.
What's question?
Black power.
Go ahead.
Right there, that's when you pointed out. All right, so I don't how you pronounce that name? Zenzi?
Yeah, something like that.
Badu.
Sister Badu.
So no, I do not have the conference call anymore, the Woo Woo's conference call. I don't do that as of right now. The conferences, the annual conference and the weekly meetups, that all came to a halt for right now. But I still got the private Facebook group if you want to be a part of that. That's been less active, but we still there. So you can join that and just stay abreast on when I do conferences or workshops again in the future. I just want to answer that's just a question real quick.
All right, cool. Peace. So y'all, no, we're gonna shut down, and we're gonna let that what we just stir it up. We're gonna let that right there percolate, and we're gonna come back to it, and we're gonna get it in. Zen Z.
Thank you.
We're gonna come back, and we're gonna dive back in, and we're gonna keep it going. So just stay out there, black man and black woman. Those of you who tuned in tonight, we appreciate you for tuning in. As always, you know, since the First Urban Philosophy page, man, where information is straight up, straightforward, and straight to the point. This particular form is PLM's Black Forum, you know, analysis and social commentary. You can expect to hear more from this forum. We're gonna keep it live, we're gonna keep it real, and we're gonna keep it black, 1,000%. Not compromising on black for nobody. If you can't handle the intensity of raw blackness, then the Black Forum is not a place for you. But I think all of you who hung out with us tonight, I think you love the raw blackness. So keep coming back. We're going to keep it in.
All right. Good night.
Good night, everyone. Hotep or BB48, race first.
BB48, race first.
Hotep.
Hotep.
First.
BB48, race first.